Hello, this is Old Radio Guy. Here's the fifth in my series of videos about PhotoLine, the powerful digital photo editor plus published in Germany. My topic is selection, mask, and the lasso tools. In this second of two videos on the subject, I'll look at the tool settings panel for lassos and mask lasso settings and other parts of the PhotoLine interface. In my demonstration, I'll be using version 17.5.2 of PhotoLine. The Tool Settings panel is the place to make additional adjustments to your lassos. To begin, I'll work with the automatic lasso to demonstrate. It's selected over here in the toolbox. Not all of the options you see in the Tool Settings panel for the automatic lasso will be available in other lassos in the stack in the toolbox. Now I'm going to use the automatic lasso tool, and the first thing I will do is use the scroll wheel on my mouse to go in and enlarge a section of this image. With the lasso, I'll click on a point and I'm going to follow the outline around, and this particular tool is very good, and I'll make a point there by clicking, and I'm going to make another one here, and coming to this very dark area I may make several to get across that point, and that did a pretty good job. If I were going to use this, I would actually go in and clean it up a bit, but that will work. With the automatic lasso selection made, I'll return to the Tool Settings panel. At the very top, you see a tolerance slider, and this tolerance slider is for setting the sensitivity of the tool search by the number of pixels. Tolerance can also be set by using the up-down arrow keys. The tolerance is set at 8, so that was the tolerance in effect when I made my selection. I can use the up arrow keys or the down arrow keys to change that tolerance. If I return to the drawing and select it again, I would be using the tolerance that I just set. The next line down in the Tool Settings box, you'll find two very tiny lasso icons, and these are the switches for the lasso functions. I'm going to return to the toolbox and turn on the rectangle lasso, and if you'll notice when I did that, in the Tool Settings box, the tolerance slider went away and the three lasso icons are up at the top. Now the first of these switches is for Create Lasso. When this switch is on, you can draw a new selection on the image in the workspace. The features of the new lasso are determined by the type lasso selected in the stack and the other options here in the Tool Setting panel. So I'll draw a rectangle lasso. The next tiny icon is a lasso with a plus sign, and then next to that is a lasso with a minus sign. Now, if I selected the plus sign, I can draw another lasso or another selection and add it to the other selection. I can also perform this same function by using the Shift key, holding it down while I draw, or using a Control key, holding it down. The Shift is for plus, to add. The Control key is for minus, to subtract. So I'm going to press this arrow and draw, and you see I've added to my selection. Now I will undo that, and this time I'm going to press the minus sign and draw, and this time you see that I have subtracted from my selection. Below the lasso switches, you'll find first on the left a switch for turning anti-alias on and off. By default it's going to be on. Next to that are two switches for assistance with design. One turns on the equal thirds guide so that you have the image intersected by two lines equal distances apart vertically, and then two lines equal distances apart horizontally, creating 9 sections. And using this model, you put the items of interest on the points where the lines intersect. A companion to that is the golden cut guidelines, where the lines intersect slightly differently. You can turn those on and off before you make the selection, or turn them on and off after you've made the selection. The guide switches are available in rectangle, horizontal line, and vertical column lassos. However, the switches have to be set with a rectangle active in the tool settings panel because they don't appear in that panel when you have horizontal line and vertical column selected. To the right of that is soft edge and a tolerance window. This is another PhotoLine unconvention. Others call this feathering. To feather or soften the edges of the selection, you use the up or down arrows here and set whatever number of pixels you want to use for feathering, and this must be done before the selection is made. In the next line is a checkbox for proportion and a drop-down for various proportion settings. With proportional selected and the proportion set for 1:1 and the circle lasso selected as my lasso in the toolbox, I can draw a perfect circle. The next line of information in the tool settings panel is a straighten crop, and the button over here for crop is a standard kind of crop. I'm creating a circle lasso selection here and press crop, and it crops out all the visual data outside the selected circle. If the horizon line is off in your image, you can make your selection so that it will straighten it when you do the cropping. And if we assume this middle stripe here on the street in front of the cars is the horizon, let's see if we can complicate things and get a circular selection and get that to work for us. Now what I want to do is have these two edges so they're parallel to the lines, and I do that by coming out here and pulling this down, and I can look at my bounding box and see that it's pretty close. So let's see what happens here when we do the crop with straighten selected. Okay, there's our crop, and this is our line which we said is the horizon, and it is parallel with the horizon. Now, of course, you could do that with a rectangular box. Chances are you've already straightened the horizon when you bring the picture into PhotoLine. If you're working in Lightroom, you've probably done it there, or one of your other raw converters. But if you need to do it in PhotoLine, the best thing to do is Alt-R. It remembers the last position. It brings up a box, and if you select the crop button here, when you draw a line, it will automatically crop to fit that in. So I'm going to draw a line all the way across here, and you see that selected the street mid-stripe as the horizon and cropped away the extra visual information on the outside. So that's certainly more efficient than trying to do horizon straightening in one of the lasso tool functions. The next bit of information we want to look at in our tool settings box, the next line, is width and enhance edge. Enhance edge is an adjustment that more than likely would be applied to an automatic lasso selection to obtain a more precise edge, but it can be used with any closed lassos. Select the enhancement width in the width box and then press enhance edge button. And you can go up to 9 pixels, and I'm going to do that so that it'll be easier to see this on what happens on the screen. So I have 9 selected, enhance edge, and you see what happened there. The final line is remove object, and remove object works pretty well for removal of relatively isolated parts of an image. Now, for example, here I'm going to use the free lasso and select this bud. And here you have 2 switches that work with remove object, and it uses a crop icon and a blend icon, and they have nothing to do with crop or blend. It's simply the icons that were chosen. The first one is for define neighborhood, and the other is for define image structure adjustment. Both of those relate to the interpolation of the information performed by PhotoLine in removing this object. And I'm not going to select either one. I'll press the remove object key, and you see what happens there. We'll undo that, and we'll try define neighborhood and then press remove object, and that does a better job removing the object. Now it's time to point out some settings accessed from the PhotoLine menus. There's a section of options related to the mask and alpha channels, saving and retrieving, valuable if you're working with PhotoLine's native PLD format or another format which will support alpha channels. And there are two options for saving and retrieving a mask from a designated file. Delete mask is similar to deselect. If you have a mask in your work area, selecting delete mask deletes it and the selection mask disappears. But unlike deselect, if there is a mask in memory, it is deselected from the clipboard too. Border mask is an interesting option. With a selection mask already selected, it creates a border around that area that becomes the selection mask. So we click border mask, and we have an option of making it an absolute pixel amount, or we can choose relative, which in this case is 4.1%. And you see what happened. The inside here had been selected, but now the selection is a border area outside the previous selection. Below border mask, we have expand mask and contract mask. And these are the ways that you increase the size of the mask. And let's go back to 10% here. See how that works. So we contract by 10%. The Tools Lasso Flyout menu provides access to a few more things we can do with selections and mask. The Form Lasso, for example, allows you to retrieve a shape from PhotoLine's vector library and use it as a selection mask. I've selected the replace mode here, and I'm going in and we'll select, for example, this footprint. So we're going to replace the existing mask selection with a footprint. In addition to replace, you also have add or remove. This video is one in a series I'm doing. It's intended to assist English-speaking photographers evaluate PhotoLine as an alternative external editor. It works well with Lightroom, ACDC Pro, DxO Optics Pro, Zoner Photo Studio Pro, and other similar RAW developers or DAMs. This is Old Radio Guy. Thanks for watching.